They said it was a joke. They said I was overreacting. But when I held that letter in my hand, stamped with the HOAS logo, demanding I pay a fine for excessive breathing disturbances, I knew this wasn't just ridiculous, it was war. My HOA actually tried to fine me for breathing. And by the end of it all, I had the last laugh. When I first moved into this neighborhood, I was drawn in by its quiet charm. A calm lake at the edge of the block, kids riding bikes in the afternoons, neighbors waving from their porches. It seemed like the perfect place to finally relax after years of working hard. But what nobody told me was that this place was just run by an HOA, was run by an HOA president who treated the neighborhood like their personal kingdom. At first, it was the usual petty nonsense. Warning letters about my trash bin being visible for 11 extra minutes, a fine for not cutting my grass to exactly 3 inches, even a note about my welcome mat being too bold for the community aesthetic. Silly, annoying, but manageable. But then things escalated. It all started when I installed a small gym in my garage. Nothing fancy, just a treadmill, some weights, and a punching bag. I liked to work out at night after long days. The windows were closed, the door was shut, and I wasn't disturbing anyone. Or so I thought. One morning, I opened my mailbox to find a letter from the HOA. It said neighbors had complained about irregular breathing noises late at night and that I was creating a disturbance to the peaceful atmosphere of the community. The fine, $150. For breathing, I actually laughed out loud. I thought it was satire, but it was real. At first, I ignored it. Surely no sane person could enforce something this absurd. But 2 weeks later, another letter came. This time the fine was doubled, $300. The words were harsher. Continued disturbances will result in further disciplinary actions. They weren't backing down. So, I decided to fight back. I went door to door, asking my neighbors if anyone had really complained. Almost all of them were shocked and confused. Most said they'd never heard anything, and some even laughed at how insane the idea of breathing fines sounded. But a couple of them looked uncomfortable, glancing at the HOA president's house before lowering their voices. That's when I realized this wasn't about noise. This was about control. I started digging deeper. I went through the HOAS rulebook, line by line, searching for anything about noise ordinances. Sure enough, there were vague mentions about unreasonable disturbances, but nothing about breathing. Nothing even close. This was personal. The president didn't like me and wanted me gone. But here's where things got interesting. I had cameras, not just outside my house, but inside my garage. Every workout session was recorded. And guess what? The footage showed no excessive noise, no open doors, no windows. Just me, quietly working out, breathing like a normal human being. I had undeniable proof that their claims were a lie. Still, the letters kept coming. $500 fines. $750 fines. Threats of legal action if I didn't comply. At one point, they even suggested I consider relocating if I couldn't adapt to the quiet lifestyle of the community. That's when I stopped laughing and started planning. I gathered every piece of evidence, the letters, the videos, the testimonies from my neighbors, and I went straight to a lawyer. His reaction, priceless. He laughed so hard he nearly fell out of his chair. But when he was done laughing, he told me something important. What the HOA was doing wasn't just absurd, it was illegal. They were fabricating fines, harassing me, and abusing their authority. So, we built a case. And as we worked, something amazing happened. My neighbors, who had been too scared to speak up, started coming forward. One woman had been fined for excessive wind chimes. Another man was fined for watering his lawn too enthusiastically. Someone else was even fined because their dog wagged too loudly. The more stories we collected, the clearer it became, the HOA president was running a dictatorship built on nonsense. When court day finally came, I was ready. The HOA president walked in with their stack of bogus fines, acting smug and untouchable. But when my lawyer laid out the evidence, the videos, the letters, the absurd charges, the entire courtroom erupted in laughter. The judge himself shook his head in disbelief. And when the testimonies from neighbors came rolling in, detailing years of ridiculous harassment, it was game over. The verdict was swift. The fines were declared void. The HOA was ordered to pay damages for harassment, and the president removed from their position effective immediately. They weren't just humiliated, they were stripped of the power they'd abused for years. Walking out of that courtroom, I felt lighter than ever. Not just because I'd won, but because the entire neighborhood was free. People smiled more, waved more, and for the first time, everyone felt like they truly owned their homes. No more breathing fines. No more fear. No more nonsense. As for me, I went home, opened my garage, and turned on my treadmill. And this time, I didn't just breathe, I laughed. Loud, deep, unstoppable laughter. Because in the end, the HOA tried to fine me for simply being human. But the only thing they really accomplished was proving how ridiculous they were. And that's why, when they tried to fine me for breathing, I got the last laugh.